in Louisville. The Kentucky Derby, America's most famous horse race, was first run in 1875, the year Churchill Downs opened. And the magic of the Derby seems to spill over onto the track itself. And visitors say to see the famous twin spires on top of the stand for the very first time is much like a first impression of the Eiffel Tower or the Statue of Liberty. In the words of that famous philosopher, Irving S. Cobb, and a native Kentuckian, of course, he said, "Until you go to Kentucky and with your own eyes behold the Derby, you ain't been nowhere and you ain't seen nothing." And I think that sums it up, the magic, the excitement, the drama of the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs. We're going there now. Our commentary team is headed by Jim McKay and Jack Whitaker.
Bigger than the Super Bowl, bigger than the World Series, one of America's great annual occasions. When I say this, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the Derby again on behalf of ABC Sports for the 13th consecutive year. You can believe I'm serious about it. Pleased and also privileged. You know, you and I get to come to the Derby together each year, every year. But for the horses, for the owners, for the trainers, this is a once-in-a-lifetime shot. One big chance to win the biggest race of all, and that's one of many things that makes this a very special day. It's also the beginning of the Triple Crown Series, which has taken on added significance this year because for the first time, if one horse wins all three, the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, he is guaranteed prize money of $5 million. But I'll also say this, I'll bet the owners in today's race would be willing to pay $5 million if they could just win this one, win the Derby. Up on top of the grandstand where the wind is gusting, my colleague Al Michaels. Looks like a wide open race, Al.
It is. This is a wonderful race to handicap, Jim. It's like doing a giant master crossword puzzle. And it's not reaching to say you can make a very good case for 11 of the 17 horses to win this race. One interesting note, in the 70s, 6 favorites and 2 second choices won the Derby, but no favorite has won the Kentucky Derby in the 1980s. No favorite has won since 1979, and there is the favorite as we speak, Demons Be Gone. Not only the betting favorite, but sort of a household favorite. Phil Hauswald, his trainer, grew up in New Albany, Indiana, across the river from Louisville. Right now, we're going to look at the odds. Now, these are the saddlecloth numbers. If you see your horse on the left, the colors that horse will wear, it has nothing to do with post position. We'll show you that in a moment. We have a 3-horse entry, Wayne Lukas with War, Capote, and On the Line at 6-1. Then the Leroy Jolly trained entry of Gulch and Leo Castelli at 4-1. Crypto Clearance, who will break from the inside, is 6-1. And as we continue on now with the saddlecloth numbers, Ali Sheba is 8-1. Masterful Advocate comes in from California at 7-1. Demons Be Gone is the favorite. That figured 5-2. Candy's Gold, an outsider, along with Chocolate One. Bet Twice, who looked good until his most recent outing, is 11-1. Conquista Rose likes an off track. He doesn't get that today. It's fast, 45-1. No More Flowers at 40-1. And then the field, Templar Hill, Momentous, and AV's Copy. Bet one, get all three. Number 12 at 19-1. Now the post positions, here's the way they'll break. That's the rail at the top of your screen. Crypto Clearance is there. Then comes War. Ali Sheba comes out of the number 3 hole. Then Templar Hill. Capote likes to go to the front. Gulch runs from the rear. Gulch is 6th. Masterful Advocate figures to go to the front out of 7. Out of the 8th spot comes Leo Castelli. On the Line, who won the Derby trial, 9th. The favorite, Demons Be Gone, 10th. Momentous, Candy's Gold, Chocolate One is 13. Bet Twice, 14. And then from the auxiliary gate come Conquista Rose, AV's Copy, and No More Flowers. We're about an hour from the post time for the 113th Derby. The animals don't know that, but the humans sure do. And down with them in the jockey's room covering his 16th Derby, Jack Whitaker.
Thank you very much, Al. This is the recreation room where they relax away from the madding crowd. The table tennis here. All jockeys are great table tennis players. You must know that. But over here is a young man who is on the favorite. Pat Day, I don't know of any jockey that ever came to Louisville with more conviction on his mount than you are with Demons Be Gone. Tell us about it.
Well, this colt, I'd worked him a couple of times early in the year and then was able to ride him in the Southwest Stake at Oaklawn, and he just put an amazing move on the field that day and just was very impressive. And then, as you know, he came back and won the Rebel and the Arkansas Derby in just about as convincing a manner. He's just been professional in every sense of the word. He handles the crowds well. He never gets excited or upset, and I think that's going to be a major factor here today with the crowd and the electricity that's in the air. And so it's just I'm coming in this race with a great amount of confidence in this colt.
I think you are. You've run almost every race today but one. You won the last one on a Wayne Lukas horse, as a matter of fact. What's the track like?
Well, it seems to be that it appears that speed's holding, but if you look at the past performances, all the horses that have won are legitimate speed horses. It's not like horses that are winning or just happen to bounce out to the lead and steal the race. The horses that are winning are the horses that are supposed to win. I think there's going to be a realistic pace in this race with the speed, and it should set up so a horse that could come just a little bit off of it.
All right, Pat, you're going to win a Derby one of these days. Maybe today's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Pat Day and Demons Be Gone, the Arkansas Travelers. Here's the trophy they're waiting for, a cup full of the gold of thoroughbred racing legend.
Favorite, and there's one here. He's called Demons Be Gone. We're calling him the Arkansas Demon because that's where his greatest victories so far have been scored. His owner comes from there, too. And we asked John Ed Anthony what it would mean to him to win the Derby.
You know, I'll ask you a question. What's the hardest race in the world to win? And I would have to answer that. It's the Kentucky Derby.
John Ed Anthony is Arkansas, from his name to his pine forest roots. But to say that John Ed runs a sawmill is like saying that the Derby is just the 9th race at Churchill Downs. John Ed's sawmill turns out millions of feet of lumber from his thousands of acres of loblolly pine, from which he derived the name of his racing stable. He names many of his horses after locations on his property, like Temperance Hill, the spot where his ancestors first settled. Temperance Hill, the horse, wasn't nominated to the Derby, but later he won the Belmont as a long shot and went on to become the 3-year-old champion. Van Landingham suffered an injury in the Derby and finished 16th. Later, he won the Washington, D.C. International. And now comes Demons Be Gone. As a 2-year-old, he disappointed in the Breeders' Cup after impressive seconds at Belmont Futurity and the Champagne. As a 3-year-old, he's undefeated and blossoming like a blanket full of roses. He didn't look like much as a baby.
He's not the type of horse that you would have picked out as a great prospect, but they come in all sizes and shapes, and he just is a little bit less spectacular in looks than some of the others.
The trainer of Demons Be Gone is a soft-spoken 28-year-old Kentuckian named Phil Housewall. He had been a trainer for less than a year when he got the Demon, but they've formed a great team to this point. This performance in the Arkansas Derby is typical of the form the Demon has shown so far this season. Note that jockey Pat Day has yet to touch him with the whip, but note also that his opposition in Arkansas didn't include a single stakes winner.
Good work.
The Demon and Day know the sweet taste of victory, and so does owner Anthony, but none of the three has won the Derby. Why is John Ed in racing?
It's an enormous undertaking. It's terribly expensive, but the mountain peaks are higher, the valleys are lower than anything else I've ever tried to do. And if you've got the willingness to suffer a lot, then it can be done. But probably it's not what every ordinary person ought to be thinking about doing with their life savings.
I mentioned earlier that the quietest place here right now is the barn area, but it's a tense quiet back there as Derby time draws near. Charles E. Canny is back there right now with the trainer of Demons Be Gone, young Phil Housewall. Charlesie?
Well, Jim, with the role of favoritism goes the scrutiny and the criticism, and Phil Housewall has been finding that out this week. And one of the topics has been the fact that Demons Be Gone wears 4 bandages, and people wonder why.
Charles said early in his career, he was a little bit immature, and I thought, you know, the bandages would give him a little support in front. He's trained every day since I've had him, you know, in 4 bandages and ran every one of his 9 starts in 4 bandages, and he's been pretty successful, so I sure believe it'd be a mistake to change anything right now.
Another topic has been the fact that he did not beat a single stakes winner in his 3 victories at Oaklawn Park.
Well, I don't know. The 2 horses came up out of Arkansas that they ran 2 3-year-old races here this spring. Fast Forward just won the Capitol Holdings stake a second ago, and there was a horse that Wayne Lucas is running in the Derby. He won the Derby trial last weekend, so I don't know. Maybe the horse weren't as weak in Arkansas as everybody says they were.
We wish you a lot of luck this afternoon, Phil, with Demons Be Gone.
Thank you a lot, Charles.
Young Phil Housewall, he's locally raised, and so is his horse. Demons Be Gone was born and raised just up the road in Goshen, Kentucky at Longfield Farm. So, Jim, that makes them a real sentimental home team favorite.
Okay, Charlesie. Charlesie Canny live with the trainer of the favorite. A racetrack can be a dangerous place, and one of the most dangerous places here is the refreshment stand. It's something called a mint julep. Lynn Swan investigated this explosive subject for us.
The only tradition older than the Derby itself is the mint julep. And for cellars just like this one, it begins with a souvenir glass. In trays of 24, they move along a very semi-automated system. The perfect 3-ounce pour, they add ice and a sprig of mint. Now today, over 80,000 mint juleps will be made. That means 8,000 quarts of bourbon, 150 bushels of mint, and 60 tons of snow ice. The big push to sell these will come just before the Derby itself, where most everyone will want to have a mint julep in hand to toast to the horses as they take to the track and the tune of My Old Kentucky Home. If you have a complete set of these glasses, they're worth about $1,000. But they're priceless in Kentucky Derby memories.
This home.
Live at Churchill Downs, over 100,000 here, several $1 million going through the window. Take a look at Derby wagering. 51 years ago, less than $500,000 bet on this race. All the way up to last year, $6 million bet at Churchill alone, and was simulcasting around the country. $26 million bet legally on the Derby. Payoffs vary. Ferdinand paid $37 here last year, and in the simulcast at Hollywood Park, he paid $16.80. Let's take a look at the odds right now. First of all, you have the Lucas entry at 6-1, highlighted by Capote, and then Gulch and Castelli, the Leroy Jolly entry at 9-2. There are really no surprises here. Everything pretty close to the morning line. Crypto Clearance is 6-1. Ali Sheba and Masterful Advocate have their backers. Demons Begone has gone from 5-2 to 2-1. Candy's Gold and Chocolate 1, 40 and 45-1. Bet twice at 10-1, and then entries 10 through 12 with very high odds. The field, the final 3, at 21-1. Right now, let's go to Charles C. Canty.
Well, thank you, Al. We're here at Leroy Jolly's barn, where Gulch and Leo Castelli are about ready to proceed over to the races. And Leroy, Gulch was a very precocious 2-year-old last year who showed speed. You took a big chance and changed his running style.
Well, I think that's what he wanted to do all the time. It's just, I don't think we changed anything. I think we just accommodated what he wanted to do.
Taught him to come from off the pace to get the 1.25 miles today.
Well, he wanted to do it, and we were able to convince, we made a jockey change. We were able to convince the new jockey to take him back and let him come from behind, and it seems to have worked well. He's won 2 out of 3 that way, and of course we have a new jockey today in Bill Shoemaker, but that's a specialty of his too.
What about your lesser-known, lesser-seasoned colt, Leo Castelli?
Well, he's a very nice horse. I think a true distance horse. He ran a very good race in the Bluegrass the other day, in which he got bothered some. He was lucky enough he wasn't injured. And I think he's a true distance horse who will come running the last part of it. And he's big and he's tough, and I think he'll run good.
Are you partial to either one?
Not really. I think they both have an equal chance, which is unusual for an entry. But usually you have one weaker, one with speed, one comes from behind. These both have the same style of running, so it's a little unusual, but they both have a good chance.
Best of luck with both of them, Leroy. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Charles.
All right, the horses are ready to proceed now over to the grandstand where Al Michaels is.
All right, Charlesy, that entry is 9-2. Delighted to be joined now by Dave Johnson for the pre- and post-race analysis. So also call his 10th Kentucky Derby. And let's talk a moment about that Leroy Jolly entry, because I think a lot of people will bet on it, and they'll bet on it sentimentally because they'll bet on Bill Shoemaker and hope that he can do what he did last year with Ferdinand. And it's interesting that he gets this ride because of the illness last week to Temperance Hill.
But they're betting on experience. That's the buzzword around the Jolly Barn. And Gulch is a horse who won the Wood. And the other part of the entry, Leo Castelli, very interesting. Let's take a look at the stretch drive that earned Leo Castelli his way into this afternoon's Derby. That's the one that Leroy Jolly just spoke about. As we pick up the action through the stretch, Ali Sheba between horses is going to veer out, almost causing Leo Castelli to go down. For that, he was disqualified. Leo Castelli still ran a big race, and War on the rail gets the win by virtue of a disqualification. But Leo Castelli should have won that race, and many think he'll win this afternoon.
Now there's the 3-horse Lucas entry, and that is highlighted by Capote. Some people say that Lucas has not brought him in fresh, in the sense he's only raced him twice, and yet he has another horse in here, War, who has already been to the post 8 times this year.
And on the line, who wasn't expected to be part of the Derby field until he destroyed the Derby trial field last week by 6.5 lengths. Capote is the interesting one, though. A virus over the winter, and now coming back with 2 off tracks, a question mark.
All right, we've taken a look at the 2 entries, also Demons Begone, but there are other contenders. Here they are. Pulling Pulling your pick out of a hat might give you an edge on the experts in this wide-open Kentucky Derby. Many insiders like Crypto Clearance, a smallish colt who hasn't been worse than second in 5 starts this year. As a bonus, Crypto Clearance has the riding services of Jose Santos, a 26-year-old native of Chile, who led the nation's jockeys in earnings last year. In the Florida Derby, Crypto Clearance overcame a slow pace and a wide trip to nail the leaders in the final 16. In the past, Crypto Clearance has preferred to rally wide, and we asked trainer Scotty Schulhofer if the inside post is a detriment here.
Not at all. He's just more been on the outside because he's been hung up out there from the post position before in his other races, but he'll run on the inside just as well as Al.
There's plenty of support for Ali Sheba, a $500,000 yearling who has been in the money often but has won only 1 race in his career. Chris McCarron, Ali Sheba's rider, makes his 7th Derby appearance, still looking for his first win. Hall of Famer Jack Van Berg has won more races than any trainer in history and has faith in this horse.
I'm confident in him. I wouldn't trade with anybody. There isn't a horse in America that I'd trade with right now. I've said that for about a month, and, you know, I told you last fall what I thought of him, and I hope he holds up for me.
Now some mystery horses. Start with Masterful Advocate, a $5,500 purchase, who impressively won his first 3 starts this year. He was well beaten, however, in the Santa Anita Derby, but co-owner Dave Leviton believes that race was an aberration, and he's got an army of supporters to root the colt on. Bet Twice has won 6 of 10 career starts, and he looked like a possible Derby favorite when he coasted to victory in March in Gulfstream's Fountain of Youth Stakes. However, in the Florida Derby, Bet Twice was the 3-5 favorite. Had some trouble early, and when jockey Craig Perrett called on him in the stretch, he had little to offer. His backers feel things will be different today. If you're looking for a long shot and an unbelievable story, there's Momentous, a chestnut colt who is lucky to be alive. In the Hawthorne Juvenile last fall, Momentous was on his way to an easy win when he suddenly ducked in and jumped the rail. Alive and well now, he's in the field today.
He's matured immensely, like all our 3-year-olds do this time of the year, and hopefully he'll overcome these things. He's a very brave horse. I mean, he is a brave horse. There's no doubt about that. And it just mentally he has to put it all together. And we'll see what happens.
The horses have been called to the paddock for the Kentucky Derby. Wayne Lucas has been a controversial figure around here this week. Not the public relations darling of old. In a minute, he'll speak for himself.
At Churchill Downs, the 113th Kentucky Derby.
Back at Churchill Downs on Derby Day, that's Gene Klein, who has been very successful in thoroughbred racing since he sold the San Diego Chargers. He owns last year's Horse of the Year, Lady Secret. In the Derby, he owns On the Line and is co-owner of Capote. The name of one of the 3-horse Lucas entry really sums up what Derby week has been for the trainer. It's war with the media as he tries to train his trio for the most important race of their lives. The 50-year-old ex-basketball coach who's a workaholic from Wisconsin is the most successful thoroughbred trainer in the business and the most controversial. We found out why.
What we try to do is maybe lead with example. What I say to them, I say, I know you say you're going to be dedicated and you're going to put in the hours and you want to get to the top. Well, I'm going to take you for your word. I'm going to test you. Now, you try to keep up with me. And if you just get as intense and involved as much as I am, the rest will all take care of itself. And look around you and see what I've got, material things. And take a good look. If you like that Mercedes over there, take a good look. I won't give it to you, but I'll show you how to get it. You know, it become fashionable in the last, I think, 10 years in all sports, to instead of to be a reporter, for a man to be a critic. I put my head on the chopping block all the time. And any time you go out on that limb, somebody's going to try to saw it off. And so they are waiting for the crack in the armor. They want me to be wrong when I make a prediction. And I always overload myself, too. And so I make those predictions, and boy, that guy's there, that sports writer's there with the saw, and he wants to cut that limb off. And love to. Once in a while we're right, and that's when we have our day. There's 2 people. Early on, Vince Lombardi. His dedication to excellence just kept ringing through to me all the time. Believe it or not, in modern day athletics, Bobby Knight is a fascinating person to me. some of the ways we go about things, so Lombardi, Knight, Wayne Lucas, whoever, I think sometimes are questioned. But I think that the general theme of giving your very, very best every single day to get where you want to be comes ringing through in those people. If you have a word association game and you say jockey, they'll say shoemaker. If you say horse race, they'll say Kentucky Derby. And so it's like Charlie put it last year. He did all these things, and he's had a marvelous career, and it still is in many years to come, I'm sure. And yet, he says, I never realized how important it was to win the Derby. Everybody said, did you ever win the Derby? And he said, yeah, I won it last year. You know, I want to be able to say that.
All right. Wayne Lucas wants to say he won a Derby. Are you going to do it on Capote, Angel Cordero?
I hope so. I win the Preakness for him, so I'm looking forward to win the Derby for him.
How's the track for him today, do you think?
The track suit him perfect today. Every horse that made the lead today wins, so I hope he continue like that.
Well, we're delighted to have you back after the injury. You were on crutches last year at this time, weren't you, Angel?
I did, and I'm very grateful that I'm here again and competing again.
Well, have a good, safe trip. Thank you very much, Angel.
Thank you very much.
Another man back from an injury is Chris McCarron, who will be on Alysheba. Welcome back to the wars, too, Chris. How do you feel?
I feel great, Mr. Whitaker. Again, like Angel said, I'm very grateful to have recovered so quickly and everything, and I'm just thrilled to death to be here.
How about Alysheba, coming out of the bluegrass with all that excitement? What do you think of him?
I think he's got a big shot. Colt's got a lot of talent. He's still maybe just a little bit immature. He likes to play around a little bit while he's running, but I'm hoping with all the confusion and commotion today with 100,000 people here that he's going to forget about playing around and know what the game is all about and do his best.
Thank you, Chris. You have a good, safe, swift trip, too.
Thank you
very much. There we go, two jockeys who always remind us that danger is always lurking for these small athletes riding 1,200-pound thoroughbreds. Now, once again, here's Jim McKay.
One of the toughest and bravest jobs in sport, being a jockey in the Kentucky Derby. Another one you'll meet in some detail in a minute. Bill Shoemaker. For 1987. So, only two jockeys have won the Kentucky Derby 5 times, Eddie Arcaro and Bill Hartack. But if Bill Shoemaker in his 25th attempt can make it 2 in a row and win today, he'll join that elite company. Jack Whitaker with the story.
This courtly gentleman is one of this country's best athletes. Along with Sam Snead and almost any NBA star, William Shoemaker will be near the top of any list of America's sporting greats. He came out of Texas to be the natural descendant to Eddie Arcaro and Johnny Longden. Now at the mellow age of 55, he is bigger than ever. His Derby successes began way back in 1955, the same year Jackie Robinson led the Brooklyn Dodgers to a World Series victory over the hated Yankees. The Shoe won aboard the California Colt Swaps that year. He captured the Roses again in 1959, and again yet in 1965 on Lucky Debonair. 21 years later, in 1986, he crashed the winner's circle again for the 4th time on Ferdinand.
Coming out of the gate, he got pinched into the fence, and so I got pinched back and shuffled all the way back to last. And I said, oh, now what am I going to do? I said, well, I just might as well take my time, and gradually picked him up, and if he can get there, fine. If he can't, there's not much we can do about it. But in hindsight, that's probably the best thing that happened to me, because the pace was very fast that day. And when I got back last, he relaxed, and I was able to get through that big field and never had to check him another time.
But you still only have that split second to make the decision whether to go for that hole or not, don't you?
Well, that's true, and one of the reasons when I moved to about the quarter pole, I was about 3 lengths off of the lead, and I knew I had a chance to win then because he was running good, and the leaders were kind of coming back to him. And there were about 4 horses head and head, and I was right behind them, and I could have went around and probably would have been okay, but in California, when he got on the outside with the crowd roaring, he used to put his ears up and not try too well. So I decided, well, I'm going to take a chance and hope I can find a little hole and go through on the inside, and he'll finish better. And luckily for me, it opened up as I got there, and I was able to duck through there.
Now on the brink of his 25th Derby, he jests at age and scars that have known many wounds, a broken leg and broken pelvis, among others. But there are no regrets, except perhaps what happened on that chilly day in May 30 years ago.
Well, Bill, this horse is 33 years old, which by human standards makes him well over 100. He was your mount in 1957, Gallant Man. Now, that morning, General Duke, who was the favorite, was scratched. Did you think you two had a good chance?
Oh, I thought he had a great chance, and I'm sure he did, too. I hope he doesn't remember what happened that day.
Well, there's the horse's mouth, but it won't say anything, will it, huh? Okay, you tell us what happened.
I think he's telling me off right now.
Did he really stand up and stop you from winning, huh? What happened, Bill?
Well, I misjudged the finish line. It was 1/16 of a mile from the finish line where I thought it was, and where it usually is on most tracks. But at Churchill Downs, it's a 1/16 of a mile closer to the first turn. And I misjudged it, and he didn't, so I made the mistake that day. He pretty should have been the Derby winner. Just want to apologize for making a mistake, pal. You should have been the Derby winner, and the Preakness and the Belmont. He probably should have won the Triple Crown.
Probably is correct. Shoe was suspended for that ride in the Derby, but with the backing of owner Ralph Lowe, he and Gallant Man returned to win the Belmont, setting a record that stood until Secretariat broke it. But the sweet memories remain.
All the derbies that you win are good races to remember, but I think the last one I rode was the race that I'll always remember the most, because it had been 21 years in between my Derby victories, and I never thought I'd ever have a chance to win another Derby after 1965, and lo and behold, here it happened. So that one's got to be the best one that I remember.
The dappled road of Shoemaker's career has had far more sunshine than shadows. And in a sport where everyone loses many more times than they win, that is remarkable. But then, Bill Shoemaker is remarkable. And that remarkable man, Mr. Shoemaker, is on Gulch, the #2 horse coming out of post position 6 today, one of the Leroy Jolly entries, the winner of the Wood Memorial, the only prep race, as we look at him in Leroy, the only prep race for the Derby that carries the 126-pound Derby weight and goes around 2 turns. So, Willie Shoemaker, 5's a riding high for him today. At 55, he's seeking his 5th Kentucky Derby win to become the 5th jockey ever to win back-to-backs on his 25th appearance. 5-0 hello to you, Jim McKay.
Okay, Jack. Well, you know most of the facts now, and I think you're learning something about the heart that it takes to win the Kentucky Derby. But the emotion begins to build now, first with the playing of the national anthem. Rather a nice coincidence that the 113th Kentucky Derby national anthem will be played by the 113th United States Army Band from nearby Fort Knox, Kentucky. Our national anthem.